Hello and welcome to Stories Hub if you're new here. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. On this channel, we bring stories today. We have an exciting topic to discuss, so stay with us till the end. Let's dive in. Ethan adjusted his cufflinks, glancing at Olivia across the elegantly decorated hall. 10 years of marriage. And tonight was supposed to be a celebration of that journey. Their friends and family surrounded them, laughter and conversation filling the space. He smiled as he raised his glass, looking at Olivia with admiration. She was beautiful, radiant, the perfect wife and mother. He considered himself lucky. Olivia returned his gaze with a soft smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. Instead, her focus briefly shifted to Daniel, Ethan's best friend. The way her fingers brushed against her champagne glass, the subtle parting of her lips. Ethan had always thought it was just natural elegance, but to Daniel, it was an unspoken language. He smirked slightly, barely perceptible, but Olivia caught it, a secret exchange hidden in plain sight. Mia placed a hand on Ethan's arm, drawing his attention away. 10 years. That's rare these days, she said warmly. Ethan chuckled. Yeah, time flies. Mia's touch lingered a second too long, her eyes searching his. Ethan never read too much into these moments. Mia had always been Olivia's closest friend, part of their inner circle. The evening moved forward with speeches and toasts. Ethan felt a deep sense of contentment, convinced that he had built something real. His wife, his children, his friendships, everything was solid. Then he heard it. It was a fleeting moment, an accident of timing. As he walked past the bar, he caught Olivia and Mia mid-conversation. The words were spoken with casual amusement, almost playful. He still thinks they're his kids. Laughter, the clink of glasses. Ethan froze. The air in the room suddenly felt suffocating. His mind tried to reject what he had just heard. Maybe he misheard. Maybe it was a joke. But deep down, something cracked. A hidden truth that had been waiting, buried beneath trust and routine. He didn't move right away. He stood still, watching people he thought he knew. Olivia laughed, completely unaware. Mia sipped her drink, looking as composed as ever. Ethan turned away and walked toward the exit. He needed air. He needed space. He needed answers. Ethan stood in the dimly lit restroom, the muffled sound of the anniversary celebration seeping through the walls. His reflection stared back at him, a visage of confusion and betrayal. The words he'd overheard replayed incessantly in his mind. He still thinks they're his kids. Each repetition felt like a dagger, twisting deeper into his heart. He gripped the sink, knuckles whitening, as he struggled to steady his breath. His mind raced, sifting through memories that now seemed tainted. Olivia's late-night work meetings, the frequent presence of Daniel at their home, and Mia's overly familiar behavior, all pieces of a puzzle he hadn't realized existed. The foundation of trust he had built his life upon was crumbling, revealing cracks he'd been too blind to see. Determined to uncover the truth, Ethan splashed cold water on his face and exited the restroom. He sought out Mia, finding her near the bar, her laughter a stark contrast to the turmoil within him. Approaching her, he forced a smile, masking the storm brewing inside. "Mia, can we talk for a moment?" he asked, his voice steady despite the chaos in his mind. She turned to him, surprise flickering in her eyes. "Of course, Ethan. What's on your mind?" Leading her to a quieter corner, he leaned in, his gaze piercing. "Earlier, I overheard you and Olivia talking. You mentioned something about me thinking the kids are mine. What did you mean by that?" Mia's eyes widened, panic flashing across her face, before she quickly masked it with a coy smile. "Oh, Ethan, you must have misheard. We were just joking around. You know how we get after a few drinks." But Ethan wasn't convinced. He had seen the fleeting fear in her eyes, the hesitation in her response. His heart pounded as he pressed further. "Mia, please. I need to know the truth." Instead of answering, Mia stepped closer, her fingers grazing his arm. "Ethan, let's not dwell on misunderstandings. Tonight is about you and Olivia." Her voice was soft, seductive, but it only fueled his suspicion. Pulling away, Ethan's mind flashed back to moments he had dismissed as innocent. Olivia's hushed phone calls, the lingering glances between her and Daniel, the way Mia always seemed to be around when he felt most vulnerable. The puzzle pieces were aligning, forming a picture he wished he couldn't see. His thoughts drifted to a particular evening months ago. Olivia had claimed she was working late, and feeling lonely, he had confided in Mia over a bottle of wine. One thing led to another, and lines were crossed that shouldn't have been. At the time, he had justified it as a moment of weakness, a lapse in judgment. But now, he wondered if it had all been orchestrated. Ethan's stomach churned as he recalled another memory. Walking into his home to find Olivia and Daniel laughing together, their heads close, the atmosphere too intimate for his comfort. When he questioned it, Olivia had brushed it off, accusing him of being paranoid. He had let it go, trusting her implicitly. Now, that trust felt like a noose tightening around his neck. The weight of betrayal settled heavily on his shoulders. Not only had he been unfaithful, but he had also been deceived by those he held closest. The realization that his children might not be his own was a blow he couldn't fathom. Every smile, every bedtime story, every moment of pride. Were they all built on lies? Ethan's world was unraveling, each thread pulling him deeper into an abyss of despair. He felt like a stranger in his own life, surrounded by actors playing roles he had been too blind to see. The celebration around him now felt like a cruel mockery, a facade masking the rotten core of his reality. As the night wore on, Ethan became increasingly isolated, the laughter and joy around him contrasting sharply with the turmoil within. He watched Olivia from across the room, her smile radiant, her laughter genuine, or so it seemed. He wondered how much it was real and how much was a well-crafted performance. The walls seemed to close in on him, the air thick with deceit. He needed to escape, to find clarity amidst the chaos. Without a word, he slipped out of the venue, the cool night air hitting him like a slap. He walked aimlessly, his mind a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. Every memory, every interaction was now tainted with doubt. He questioned his own judgment, berating himself for not seeing the signs earlier. The people he had trusted most had woven a web of lies around him, and he had been ensnared without even realizing it. Ethan's heart ached with a profound sense of loss, not just his marriage, but the life he thought he had. The future he had envisioned now seemed like a cruel joke, a mirage that vanished upon closer inspection. As dawn approached, Ethan found himself standing before his home, the place that had once been his sanctuary. Now it felt foreign, a house of cards teetering on the edge of collapse. Steeling himself, he entered, determined to confront the truth, no matter how painful it might be. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with heartache and betrayal. But Ethan knew one thing. He couldn't continue living in a lie. The time had come to unravel the deception, to face the reality he had been blind to for so long. And as the first light of day broke through the darkness, Ethan prepared himself for the battle that lay ahead. Ethan's decision crystallized in the early hours of the morning, a resolve forged from betrayal and heartache. He would leave, but not in a manner that would allow for confrontation or explanation. Instead, he chose a path of silent retribution, ensuring that those who would deceive him would feel the weight of their actions. He began by securing all financial assets. As the sole account holder, he transferred funds into accounts inaccessible to Olivia. Joint credit cards were canceled and automatic payments were halted. He contacted his attorney, instructing him to prepare divorce papers citing infidelity, attaching the necessary evidence to substantiate his claims. Next, Ethan arranged for a moving company to discreetly remove his personal belongings while Olivia was occupied. He took care to leave behind items that held sentimental value to her, a subtle reminder of what was being lost. Family photos were removed from frames, replaced with blank canvases, symbolizing the void that now existed. On the morning of their anniversary, Olivia awoke to an empty house. The silence was deafening, the absence palpable. She called out for Ethan, but her voice echoed unanswered. Panic set in as she noticed the missing items, the clear closets, the void where their life together had been displayed. Frantically, she dialed Ethan's number, but it went straight to voicemail. She tried contacting Mia and Daniel, but they too were unreachable. Desperation turned to dread as she realized the magnitude of what had transpired. A knock at the door interrupted her spiraling thoughts. A courier handed her an envelope, the weight of its contents heavy in her hands. Inside, she found the divorce papers, meticulously prepared and accompanied by evidence of her infidelity. Included were DNA test requests for their children, a demand that struck at the core of her fears. Shaking, Olivia sank to the floor, the reality of her actions crashing down upon her. The life she had known was unraveling, each thread pulled by the choices she had made. The facade she had maintained crumbled, leaving her exposed and isolated. Ethan, meanwhile, had vanished without a trace. He had left behind no forwarding address, no means of contact. His silence was a statement, a void that spoke volumes. He had taken with him not just his belongings, but the trust and love that had once defined their relationship. In the days that followed, Olivia attempted to reach out, to explain, to apologize, but her efforts were met with silence. Friends and family distanced themselves, unwilling to be caught in the crossfire of the implosion. The children, sensing the tension, withdrew, their innocent questions met with strained responses. Daniel and Mia faced their own repercussions. Their involvement in the deceit became public knowledge, leading to personal and professional fallout. Relationships were severed, reputations tarnished, and the web of lies they had spun ensnared them in ways they had not anticipated. Ethan's departure was not just a physical absence, but a calculated move that left a lasting impact on all involved. His silence forced introspection, a mirror reflecting the consequences of betrayal. In his absence, the conspirators were left to grapple with the ruins of their choices, each facing the reality they had sought to avoid. The once vibrant connections that had intertwined their lives were now frayed and broken. Trust, once shattered, proved difficult to rebuild. The scars left behind served as a reminder of the fragility of relationships and the devastating effects of deceit. Ethan's act of vanishing was more than an escape. It was a powerful statement of self-preservation and a refusal to be a pawn in a game of manipulation. His absence became a presence in itself, a void that each conspirator had to confront in their own way. In the end, the silence spoke louder than any confrontation could have. It echoed through the empty halls of the life they had once shared, a haunting reminder of the cost of betrayal. The faceless nature of Ethan's revenge left no room for rebuttal, only reflection. As time passed, each character was forced to navigate the aftermath, carrying the weight of their actions. The story served as a poignant testament to the complexities of human relationships and the profound impact of choices made in moments of weakness. Ethan's disappearance was not just an end but a beginning, a catalyst for change, for facing truths long buried, and for the painful but necessary journey toward redemption or resignation. The silence he left behind became the loudest voice, one that would resonate in their lives indefinitely.